Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday morning, Casing Tuesday. For those of you who join me regularly, we have another card to stamp today. It is a beautiful day here in Boston, and I just want to invite you to ask questions while I am stamping. If you see something that doesn't make sense, please chime in. I try to read your comments as I stamp along. And if you haven't already joined our Casing Tuesday Facebook group, please go ahead and join us, because it is really fun to see what you're stamping, and we're all stamping based on the same card. Oh, Janine, good morning. She says it's a good, wet, and chilly morning. Well, it was chilly here too, but the sun is shining right now. I'm really hoping that the noise from next door isn't going to affect us too much this morning. They are in the framing stages of this house next door, and they are like hammering away this morning, so I hope it's not too loud, but this is the best room in the house to do this. Otherwise, I'll have to take it to the other end of the house and do Facebook Live from my bedroom. And I don't know. I think that would be really hard. I would need to set things up, a new table and everything like that. Is that typical weather, Janine? Cold and wet? That's really sad for Indiana. I think I've driven through Indiana. I don't know if I've ever been to Indiana, so I'm sorry that you have cold and wet weather today. So anyway, enough about me and blah blah blahing. Let's go right to the Casing Tuesday card for today. Let me turn this around. There's my view this morning. Janine says, sometimes we have all 4 seasons in one day. Yeah. Boston can kind of be a little temperamental too, but probably not as bad as Indiana. All right. I'm trying to get this so it's kind of straight up and down. Let me tuck my stand under my piece a little bit. I hate it later on if it's not straight and stuff. So today's card, we are on Casing Tuesday 94. This is kind of incredible. Catalina's been doing this a little longer than I have, so she's coming up on her 100th card, but we started numbering them with her because she started it. So we are on number 94, and this is today's card. It's a great layout if you have a big focal point, you know, and this one has the big flowers from this stamp set down here. That's retiring. But I don't have the stamp set. It's a beautiful stamp set, but I decided to use a different flower stamp set. I'm using Wild About Flowers. And the funny thing is, Catalina and we use the same stamp set. I was really trying hard not to choose a stamp set that she might choose, and we ended up with the same one. But that's okay. I mean, great minds think alike, perhaps. So this is the card that I came up with. It's a little bit similar, kind of got the same flower layout here, and I moved my greeting from here on this card to over here on this side, because I didn't have a little tiny thing to stamp over here, and the more I just kind of looked at it, I just thought, why don't I move my greeting over here and just kind of keep it simple. I really like this card. It's like really bright and cheerful. But I did mine in Flirty Flamingo instead. And when I stamp this card, we're going to use Sweet Sugar Plum today. I thought we'd change things up. Good morning, Joyce. I'm glad you could join us. So why don't we get started, and I'm going to show you how to do this. Let me pop some things away so we're not impeding things. So I think the best thing to start off with this card is to do our focal point. And I just took a piece of a Whisper white cardstock, and I cut this piece to 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. You have a little leeway. You could make it a little bit bigger too, but I wanted a little bit more of a perimeter on mine. And before I forget, I always forget to corner punch things. So your envelope punch board has a corner rounder up at the top. So I'm going to use that to corner round this because I always forget to do that step. So I'm going to do it first so I don't forget. So you just stick it in there. Make sure it's straight in there before you punch it. If you don't have it straight, it's not going to look good. All right, so this time I didn't forget. Yay. Get rid of those little corners. And then we're going to use always artichoke. It's a color I don't use too often, but I've been trying to bring it back in more, trying to use the colors I don't use a lot. It's a nice, deep, dark green. Open this up. And we've got new in colors coming, but since customers can't order from them yet, I haven't been using them on my blog posts yet. So, except for the Eastern Palace bundle. I'm just going to take a scrap piece of paper and put it underneath here real quick because my stems are going to come off the page. So, I'm just going to ink. This is one of the big flower stems from Wild About Flowers. And I am just going to stamp that. You need to leave enough room at the top, but I want it pretty high up. So let me stamp that about there. And then I need to stamp this one more time, but I'm going to do it a little lower. So I'm looking at this flower from here and this flower from there, the two side flowers. I want to make sure I have enough room on this particular flower to put the flower head, so I don't want to put a leaf right there. So I just want to make sure that when I bring this down, there's going to be enough room. Okay, like that. Then we're going to bring in Sweet Sugar Plum. And I like this stamp set because it's so easy to do the flowers. I've always loved two-step stamping because it's so easy and quick. So then you just stamp the flower heads in a different color. And the key with this, there's a little bit of a notch on this stamp, and that's, you know, your kind of an arrow to point up. So you're just going to line them up with these top four. And it just takes a moment to make sure that they look good. So just line them up. Make sure they look decent, and then stamp them down. How pretty is that? I like that this is so easy. I mean, other than lining it up, I mean, if you don't have patience for that, then I can't help you with that. But it's really easy to just go ahead and stamp it like that. There we go. All the flowers, all stamped, all done. Now, I do have a greeting that I need to stamp too. So I'm going to just use a scrap piece of Whisper White. Hello, Catherine. And I'm going to use my Always Artichoke ink pad again. And I'm using, I love this stamp set, the Thoughtful Banner stamp set, because it has so many different greetings in it. And it's a nice size. If you need to make your banner a little, or your words a little bigger, you can use one of these outlines, and we've got matching stamps for all of them, matching punches for all of these shapes. So it's great. You can make your greeting a little bit larger if you need to by using one of those. So I've got the thank you on here. I use a lot of thank you cards, and just when you're doing a like a little stamp like this, you want to just tap it lightly on your ink pad. You don't want to smush that stamp in there. Otherwise, you're going to get ink all over your block and over your fingers and everything like that. Good morning, Elizabeth. And when I stamp down, I'm going to do it gently because it's small. So you don't want to jam it on the paper. You're just going to kind of put it down and wiggle it just a little bit to make sure you get it all down. And you can see that when you do that, I'll show you I'll show you one where I jam it down a little harder. And you can see how on this one, see there's the one that I did properly. And on this one, I jammed it down and the T's a little misshapen. So you can practice that, you know, using a lighter touch for the smaller stamps, and it will look a lot better. Okay, so then we've got our classic label punch. And we're going to just go ahead and punch out a thank you the one that I like. And I wanted to create a mat for it. Like this card has a mat, and this little card here has a mat for the greeting. So we don't have a punch for that. So how did I get this little mat nice and pretty and stuff? So I cut a piece of Always Artichoke cardstock to 2 3/4 inches by 1/2 inch. And then I took my Tombow, which is probably all clogged up from last night. Let's see if any of it will come out. Oh, yeah. All right. And I'm going to adhere this onto my Always Artichoke piece. And I'm going to make sure it's centered from top to bottom. Make sure it looks good. And I know there's some extra cardstock sticking off the outside. That's fine. Just make sure that's stuck down and not shifting. Okay, see how I did that? And then all I have to do is trim off the ends. It's easier to eyeball a little piece, cutting off a little piece off an end, than it is to eyeball it cutting off of a long piece like this. So then all I do is I kind of look at this and I'm like, okay, I need about that much off and cut like that. And I need that much off and cut like that. So, you know, you're making really tiny cuts, so it's really easy, I think, to get that border on there, and it looks pretty good. You know, and it looks like a mat, it looks like a punched shape. So that will make this greeting a little bit bigger. Okay. All right, so now we just need to kind of build up our card. And so I'm using a piece of Sahara sand cardstock. This piece is 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and I scored it in half at the 4 1/4 inch mark. Then I just need to fold it. I like to use my bone folder to smooth down the folds so the card lays flat. I took this time a piece of the Sweet Sugar Plum. This is the Sweet Sugar Plum paper from the 2016-2018 In Color Designer Series paper pack. This is retiring. I checked yesterday though, and it was still available. So you can still get this, and I'm just going to put some Tombow on the back. Did I tell you how big this piece is? Probably not. This is 5.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And then I'm going to probably center it from top to bottom. The glue is kind of sticking down already. Get this centered. Okay, that looks good. And then we'll put on this piece, our focal point. And also I'm centering this piece. I always take a moment to center it because I don't like my layers crooked and not centered. And then you can take this little piece and glue it down and stick it down here near the bottom. And then I thought, just to add a little bling or something, we would take, these are the 2016-2018 enamel shapes. These are retiring. So if you want them to match your Designer Series paper pack, that's also retiring. You can go ahead and get them. These, I like these. They have these little hearts, stars, and dots. So I'm just going to take this. My phone's ringing. Of course. And I put the phones in the other room so they wouldn't ring, but my base is still in that room. So, of course, I did turn off my answering machine, though, so we don't have to listen to my message if there is one. I'm sorry about that. I need to, maybe, I don't know how to, I just need to turn off my phone somehow. Okay, so then I just use my paper piercing tool to transfer it. It's easy to pick up something small like this with the end of your paper piercing tool. It's far easier than to pry it off with your fingers. So then I just put that down onto my card like that, and it's done. This was a really easy card, but if you have any questions, I have a bit more talking to do. So, well, thank you. Someone sent me a thumbs up. I have a little bit more talking to do. So if you have any questions about these cards or questions about anything else, just let me know. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm glad you liked the card. And thank you, Catherine, too. So any of the products that I used are available for purchase on my blog. After this video is over, after this Facebook Live is over, I'm going to post the links to my blog post, and you can go ahead and click them and see all the different products I used that I mentioned in this video. I will have the measurements, all the measurements for these different layers, I will have them. And if you want to join us in casing cards, like if you want to case this card too and show me what you can do with this card, you know, remember, you can change things up. I didn't use the same color scheme. I used part of the same layout, like I moved it around a little bit. Or if you have the stamps that you can copy it exactly. But if you want to show us what you do with this card, join us on our Casing Tuesday Facebook group. It's open to everyone. All you have to do is join. And when you post your cards, Catalina and I will comment on them, and other people do too. It's really fun. Every week we get some people that post their cards, and we get to see you know, what everyone else does too. Thank you, Nancy. I'm glad you like the card. She says it's clean and simple. And yeah, that's kind of my style. In general, I kind of do clean and simple. And sometimes we choose cards that have a little bit more detail on them for casing, but I like this week's layout. I think it's nice if you have a big focal point that you need to stamp, and it's a pretty easy layout. So I'm really interested to see what you guys come up with for that. And so let me turn this around one more time. Face my ceiling. Oh, now you're facing, I didn't turn you around. You're facing my view out here. Let me turn myself around. Okay. There we go. Sometimes those little buttons don't work. You press on them and they don't take right away. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you get some time to stamp, and I hope you're already on Casing Tuesday, and I hope if you're not that you will join us over there. And remember, I will post all the links in the description. So if you're looking at this afterwards on YouTube, make sure you look down in the descriptions to see the links for the Casing Tuesday group, for a link to my Facebook page where you can view this live if you want to join us on Tuesdays, because I do this every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Thank you for everyone who joined me today, and I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye for now. Bye-bye.